This right here could possibly be the fastest way to improve your downswing with every single club in the bag. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you a great simple technique combining 3 different elements that are going to allow you to create that much better downswing that we see a lot of the tour pros do. When they get into this slot in the downswing, that allows them to create more power, improve the strike and accuracy, everything that we're looking for to improve our golf games. And this is aiming to answer a question that came in from a comment a couple of weeks ago, looking for a technique on how to control the club face in the downswing with both the irons and the woods. But before I jump right into this, for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Harry, a PJ golf professional here to help you transform your golf game. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn the bell icon to all if you do find these tips and drills useful for your own game. And why not drop a comment down below with a tips or drills video topic you'd like me to cover next. So rather than me going into the tendency of what I see so many golfers do, I'm just going to cut straight to the point and go straight into what we should be seeing that the tour pros do every single time. Now, the ideal slot that we want to be looking for in the downswing to get ourselves into this slot is somewhere where the club shaft reaches a point into this slot here where the club is in between the right elbow, the trail elbow, so just above it, but well below the right shoulder. We usually see a lot of golfers go this way and some even to underneath, but the majority a little bit too far in this direction. So how can we get this club into this slot that's going to allow us to get those benefits? Well, to begin with, we've got to understand how the body should be working to help us give ourselves the best possible chance of getting that club into the slots in the first place. How the body should work in the golf swing is very simple, and I can explain this by taking the club and placing it across my shoulders. If I set up into my athletic posture just like this here, ideally when I make my way into the top of the backswing, I should be able to get the butt end of the club here to point just above the golf ball. And you can see here I'm rotating up to the top of my swing, my right shoulder, trail shoulder lifts up, and my lead shoulder stays below, underneath my chin. And I'm rotating just past the point of 90 degrees with my shoulders and around that 45 to 50 degree angle with my hips. And from the top of the swing here, it should be initiated by a little bit of a squat or a press into the ground from both of our feet. And then from there, we're pushing that force that we've applied into the ground up and through as we start this initiation from the lower body, starting that swing sequence, and then rotating and everything else following from the ground up to hips, torso, up through the chest, and then eventually the club will follow to the finish. So to give you a head start on this movement, I highly recommend just making a couple of drill swings just with the club across the shoulders, applying this movement in steps and then building this up slowly into full swings. And what that's going to do is allow us to set where the arms should be, but also where our hands and wrists should be for that downswing. Now, just before I dive into that, I just want to let you know I'm using the TrackMan IO golf simulator, which is one of the Golf Swing Systems golf simulators that they provide for indoor facilities just like this one. You may have noticed as well, we've had a fantastic refurb on this place. So if you're ever in the market for anything like that, I highly recommend using Golf Swing Systems, and the code down below, SURE5. So for the arm movement then, when we have a look at the arm movement in the downswing, I've just suggested then that as we get used to this body movement back and forth, what's going to allow this to happen is when we get to the top of our swing, this little squat movement here, as soon as we get ourselves into a reliable backswing position, we can simply squat down, and that already allows the club to begin to shallow, as opposed to what I mentioned before, the club getting a little bit too steep and that over the top motion we see too often. So how the arms should work in this motion is by 2 points. And if we can get this into the backswing perfectly, then when we get that squat, we're pretty much thereabouts with setting that club in that ideal slot. So to get that club working into the top of the backswing, we all know that for right-handed players, this left arm should be staying nice and fairly straight but relaxed all the way up to the top of the swing. With that rotation, that should be very easy for you to do. But how can we actually set this trail arm into position? What I want you to do at address is just make sure that your right hand is set in what we call a very much so externally rotated position. Because if it's set internally where we see the elbow pointed towards that camera over here, just like this, it makes it very difficult for me to set the club in a nice position at the top. So when I make this squat, you can see the first initial reaction is the club going a little bit too far over. So if I can get this right arm set with the elbow facing more towards the body and then just twist my wrist back over like so, that's going to allow this right arm to fold a little bit more naturally as I begin to make that rotation. If that feels a little bit awkward to do one-handed, just take the hand and grip it right in the middle of the club shaft, set it with the butt end of the club facing towards the target, and just simply get that back working towards the target and allow that right arm to hold this angle here. And that helps it get set into that lovely backswing position. I take my lead hand on now, and that is bob on. So that second point there is really going to help you get that club working into the top of the backswing perfectly. And as we get that squat, gravity is going to do its work for us. But whilst gravity is going to be doing the work for us, combining those two elements of getting that rotation back and forth, getting that body to work correctly, and now how the arms should be set at the top, well, sometimes players will have a tendency of seeing their glove logo, so the GX Golf Glove logo here, face a little bit too much towards the sky. Now the problem with this is when people try and shallow the club or get it into the slot is that it opens the club face way too much. So combining those two elements, you're going to be able to get it into the slot no problem. But we're making sure that club's in the bang on position and then we're squatting down for two. But the club face could open up for you too much. And this is where we start to look into how the wrist should work, how the wrist should be set as we make our way into that downswing. Now, I'm going to use an example of the right palm. Just before I mention this, I'd just like to give a quick shout out to GX Golf. I'm going to use their golf glove as the example for this next part using the wrist, but they provide high quality golf gloves for a fraction of the price in comparison to the rest out there on the market. So if you're ever in the market for looking at a new golf glove to try, I highly recommend getting one of their bundle packages of 3, 6 or 9, and you can also use the discount code Harry10 to get yourself 10% off. It works out as like 3 gloves for the price of 1 these days, so definitely worth checking out. So this GX Golf Glove logo here, as we make our way into the very top of our swing then, this GX Golf Glove logo, I'm going to take this hack motion part off just for a sec. And if I just get that pointing towards the sky, look what that does here to the club face. You can see it's facing towards the sky. It's way too open. As I rotate into the golf ball, that leading edge is winning the race to the golf ball. So it's not going to be very good for a strike. So we've got to ensure that that GX logo, as we make our way to the top, we've squatted down, we've got to allow for a little bit of wrist movement here. So this little bit of wrist movement here, you can see if I'm getting my GX Golf Glove logo to almost set in a little bit more of a bowed action, that's going to allow that club face to close down for me. And then as I start to implement the rotation from stage 3 of how the body should work, that first drill I gave you, that's going to help screw up the club face beautifully. So not only are you going to be able to get the club working in this slot here, as we squat down and allow the GX Glove logo to twist, it's still facing a little bit towards the sky, but then if I bring this into the golf ball, it's already pointing towards the ground. If we go this way here and twist it the opposite, it's pointed towards the sky. So pretty much from this point, as long as that GX Golf Glove logo faces more towards the ground, you're going to screw up that club face. So you're going to get it into the slot, you're going to screw up the club face and produce much better ball striking. And you can implement that simple feel of taking the club like so and just rolling that lead wrist over, almost like you're revving a motorbike with that lead wrist of yours. But even easier, I'm using a device called the Hack Motion, which is allowing me to basically measure how flexed and how extended my wrist positions are as I make our way from the setup into the top of the backswing and all the way into the downswing and finish. So I can actually check and see if I'm bowing my wrist enough in that downswing. So combining these 3 moves into one drill that you can take away with today, the fastest way to improve that downswing, set it into that slot, taking the hands and separating them with the lead hand onto the grip, and the trail hand just on the shaft point here. You're setting up into your posture. You've rotated up to the top of the swing for one, allowing that right arm to fold up to the top as normal. Then as we squat, we're revving the bike here. So we're revving the bike, getting that GX logo to face more towards the ground as opposed towards the sky. And that's setting you into that slot. If I take my right hand now on properly and rotate through, that is the drill that you want to be practicing to get that downswing perfectly. Now the fastest way to do this is I would suggest taking 3 practice drills, just getting used to that movement, then hitting a shot, 3 practice movements, then hitting a shot. And I reckon after 10 to 15 shots, you're going to notice a big difference in terms of the direction, the strike, and also how far you're hitting the golf ball. So I definitely recommend giving this a try. So I've got 8 iron here, 150 yards. I'm just swinging this easy just to make sure I get this into the slot to start off with. Really feel like I'm revving that bike with the wrist, and this should be a nice outcome. Nice little bit of a draw. I'm hoping it stays on the green. Oh, not quite. Ever so slight push to the right, but that's only about 6 yards to the right of the pin. So that just means for me, it's a good indicator that I've not really revved the bike enough on the way down to close down this club face even more so. So now you understand how the downswing works and how we can get this into that slot, the fastest way to get into that slot. Once you've implemented this, how can we actually control what happens in the takeaway, and how can we generate a little bit more speed and power from this? Well, I'd highly recommend checking out this video over here, which is a great concept that's going to make this part a lot easier as well. So I'd recommend checking that out because that helps you actually start the golf swing off correctly in that takeaway and backswing, and that already gets you set in a great position just to get the club into that slot. So check it out, subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you in the next one.